Facepalm America, I'm Beowulf Rockland. FacepalmAmerica.com is where you can get more information about the show, listen to past episodes, and connect with us on social media. You can also give us a call, as Bob from San Jose did in the last few days, at 202-656-6271. I will say, because it is Monday, and it's time for John Rothmann from Around the Political World with John Rothmann. John, Bob from San Jose is a big fan of yours. He misses your voice, and he misses the sound of KGO in the San Jose area that he listened to for many years. And he listens to your program as well.
Well, Bob, thank you very much. It's a high honor and great personal privilege to occupy the airwaves with you, thanks to Beowulf Rockland.
Well, I would not have it any other way. The spirit of KGO and the cornucopia of knowledge and experience and wisdom that John Rothmann provides is vital and necessary to certainly my show, and I believe our democracy. So,
thank you.
When we spoke last week, John, when we spoke on Monday last, we knew that there was a debate coming. We knew that there was a debate on Fox News, moderated, quote unquote, by Sean Hannity between Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida and Governor Gavin Newsom of California. I told you in advance that I would not be watching that debate, but you said that you would be watching it. I am fascinated to find out what you thought of it, what you thought the results of it were.
It was not a debate. I grew up with classic debate, right. Lincoln Douglas style, where you really engaged. This was unfortunately a shouting match.
Right.
Very little constructive action. You're correct about Sean Hannity. He was hardly a neutral observer. I thought DeSantis lost in terms of any support he might have gained as we approach the caucuses and primaries. And as for Gavin Newsom, this encounter did him no good at all. So that was my basic summary. You did get a sharp distinction between two opposing points of view, but you had to be able to listen to they're talking over each other to try to understand what the heck they were talking about.
You know, you make a pretty good point that I think applies, from what I understand, to both this quote-unquote debate and the run-of-the-mill primary season debates that we have seen. They're really not debates. They basically are just the moderators, again in quotes, will drop some sort of verbal bomb and let the contestants respond to it. It's really more of a game show than it is a debate. Serious issues typically are not debated at these things or engaged in it at all.
You're absolutely right. These are not debates. These are cattle shows.
Yeah.
And it's basically the one-liner that sticks. In this case, neither one of the candidates, and I include Gavin Newsom as a potential candidate, had any one-liners that stuck. It's meaning, the last time we had a real debate, if I can give you a little political history, was May 17th, 1948, when Harold E. Stassen and Thomas E. Dewey debated in Oregon, where you are at this very moment.
Wow.
The question, shall the Communist Party be abolished in the United States?
Right.
It was done on appropriate rules. People can Google it. You can hear the whole debate. And Dewey won and went on to win the Oregon primary and then the Republican nomination for president.
The classic Cambridge, Oxford style debate that you can still see to this day if you go online. And we really don't have that because there are no rules. You don't have to, respond specifically in kind or address the issues at hand. And I think I miss that greatly. And I remember seeing debates in the 1980s and 1990s that I think still reasonably hewed to that format. And within my political memory, there he goes again, the line uttered by Ronald Reagan Goodness, I suppose that was against Mondale in
No, that was against
1940?
Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter. Okay, so the one that I am
in 1984,
yes,
it was he wouldn't hold his opponent's youth and inexperience against him.
Yes, Mondale, who was in his 50s at that point.
Walter Mondale burst out laughing, and that was the end of Mondale's candidacy.
That's right. I think he won.
Great line.
It was a fantastic line, and I remember actual debates.
But that wasn't the debate either. You understand?
Technically, no, it wasn't. Not even that.
Yeah. So when I think of a debate, I was in high school and college debate. There was an assigned topic, and but one of the most interesting reflections. Barry Goldwater once told me the story that had John F. Kennedy lived, he and Kennedy planned to campaign from the same plane and have debates in a variety of cities across America. And they would talk about the Vietnam War, Social Security, medical care for the aged, all of the issues of the day that were so gripping. And it would have been head to head. And can you imagine if Kennedy had lived and they had really done that? How the whole nature of American politics would have changed.
It really would have been amazing, because it would have been an earnest ideological contrast of views, as opposed to just rhetoric and mudslinging. It would have been amazing to see. I think the result in 1964 would have still been in favor of the Democratic side, but it would have been a clear contrast between earnest ideas, ones which held an actual positive vision for the United States of America, and not just a decimation of one's opponent.
No, you're right. So, is it worth listening to? Frankly, no.
I did want to bring up one point about the DeSantis Newsom debate, one which I saw a video of on Twitter, and which pertains to your hometown and my home region, San Francisco, California. At one point during the debate, Governor DeSantis pulled out of his coat a piece of paper that was a map in which various points were marked at which human feces had been apparently reported, and insisted that Governor Newsom respond to this. Well, there's so many things wrong with that. I mean, first of all, the information, as I understand it, didn't even apply to the period in which Governor Newsom was mayor of San Francisco. Second of all, when you have a poop map that you pull out, it has no meaning, and it essentially is slinging poop. But I just get so frustrated by the right, because of the cultural associations that the city of San Francisco has with the left, attacking it and degrading it again and again. And I've been to San Francisco many times in the past couple of years. I have seen poop nowhere. I'm sure there is poop in the city of San Francisco, for goodness sakes, but there's poop in any major city. And I get sick and tired of the right bringing up this narrative about San Francisco is in a death loop. San Francisco is covered with needles and feces. It has problems like any major metropolitan area, but the San Francisco. The state of San Francisco is fundamentally strong, in my opinion. What is your opinion, John?
Well said. I agree with you 100%. It all stems back to Gene Kirkpatrick, who was an old friend of mine, who spoke at the Republican convention of 1984 and talked about San Francisco Democrats.
Right.
And it stuck, but I can assure you, I can use a four-letter word.
Please do.
Yeah, let me tell you, what they did was a shit show, pure and simple.
Absolutely, it was a shit show, and it really has so much to do with the cultural echoes of the late 1960s and what a certain stripe of conservative still alive today associates with the supposed debauchery of San Francisco at that time, and it really has nothing to do with
debauchery here. If there were any, I'd love to encounter it, and I can only remind you that really this description emerged from Pat Buchanan at the 1992 Republican National Convention. where he talked about a cultural war in America, a cultural civil war.
Yep.
And that's exactly what we're seeing. The same thing applies, by the way, with what Donald Trump is doing. Can you imagine a former president of the United States saying that he wants to weaponize the Justice Department, wants to have enemies lists, wants to do all the things Donald Trump is talking about? Talk about a subversion of democracy.
It is a subversion of democracy, and it's amazing that Donald Trump comes out in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, over the weekend, and says that Biden somehow is attacking and subverting democracy. It's as if he just hears the attacks against him and just assigns that, projects that onto his political
You know where
opponent.
he gets that from?
Yeah.
From Roy Cohn.
Yeah.
Roy Cohn, who is Joe McCarthy's right-hand man, once gave Donald Trump the advice: if they attack you, just hit them right back with the same language. Just hit them hard, and you'll knock them off. And I can only tell you, the campaign that is coming, and it's hard to believe it'll be over in a year, but the campaign that is coming is going to be one in which democracy really is on the line. Yeah. I am convinced, and I talked about it in my podcast this morning, that if Donald Trump wins, democracy will be severely damaged. And I would remind you, Liz Cheney was on the Today Show this morning making much the same point. And Liz Cheney is no bomb-throwing liberal, for God's sake.
No,
I believe she has anything to do with debauchery. But she is somebody who was the number 3 Republican in the House of Representatives. Yeah. And the Republican Party is completely disregarding her, which is absolutely, to me, shocking.
Yeah, I agree with Liz Cheney about almost nothing, but I agree with her 100% about the threat to democracy. And I think her line was that we are sleepwalking into a dictatorship. And just because, we had this same danger in 2016, where we were not taking the threat of Donald Trump seriously enough because he engages in public buffoonery. Just because that is the case, and he seems on the face ridiculous to us, we should know by now, because we have so much, unfortunately, tangible evidence that shows us the danger of what he can do.
He's already outlined, Beowulf, what he wants to do if he is back in the White House. And if you make a list of all the things he is talking about doing, it is a shocking repudiation of the essence of American democracy. Yeah. And I said this morning, and I will repeat it for you, it is very clear to me that the American people will have a real choice if Trump is the Republican nominee for president. And I hope and I believe there will be a resounding repudiation of Donald Trump and his philosophy. I believe that with every fiber of my being.
I certainly hope so, because perhaps at some point we can make Goldwater's vision of an earnest political debate actually come true, and talk about, what those on the left believe as a vision for our country and what those on the right believe as a vision for our country.
When you say that, many of you who've listened to me over the years know that I always tell people, take out a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle, make a list of the critical issues and where the various candidates stand.
Yeah.
It is very important. But in the case of Donald Trump, we also have to consider the personality of the man. Yeah. And I think even if you agree with Donald Trump on critical issues, and many people do, there ought to be a complete rejection of a man who says he would disregard the Constitution of the United States, says it publicly, says it clearly, says it precisely.
Absolutely.
And that is what conservatives, real conservatives, Goldwater, Reagan conservatives, have to repudiate.
Yeah, absolutely. And something else that you should advise those who may agree with Donald Trump on some issues you should say that, wait a few minutes. His views on that will change, because he does not really have very many consistent points of view on issues. He is essentially about himself and no one else. He really doesn't care about conservatism, really? Quote unquote.
Beowulf, I'm shocked that you would make such a suggestion.
Well, the facts themselves, John, so thoroughly make that implication. It's just
Beowulf,
crazy.
With all due respect, don't confuse people with the facts.
I know. That's the problem. People have not been confused by the facts for so long. And we get into these terrible habits, I think, when we discuss politics about what this guy is like or what this other person is like, and the things that we think of negatively about them. And we spend so little time thinking about, what do I want my country to look like? What policies do I want in place? What helps us to become a better country? And I think it is